Привет, Michal. Welcome back everyone, I am Kazakh and today we have a very different topic of a video. Today we're talking about Chinese Type 07 camouflage pattern and the uniform assigned to it. So, starting with a bit of history, or I guess what is known about the history and the development of this camouflage pattern, it's the specific names of individuals or companies involved in it are not known, and let me explain to you why. Well, the reasoning is because there are actually no specific individuals involved in making the specific pattern of the camouflage, but it was a common effort of many people, and it was not done by any kind of private corporation company like some countries, whether that be the US or Great Britain, do to develop their camouflage patterns by getting high precision to do it. It was done through state-owned, not even corporations, literally parts of the People's Liberation Army. So the main overseeing body of the development of the camouflage pattern was the Equipment Research Institute of the General Logistics Department of the People's Liberation Army, and while it was responsible for the overseeing of the development, and the General Logistics Department has to be accredited for the actual creation of the camouflage pattern, the further industrial production of the fabrics in this camouflage pattern have been done by large state-owned enterprises like the Shandong Shuangxi Group. That is the name which shows up the most frequently in this story. So in around 2007, this camouflage pattern is developed to replace the older Type 87 camouflage patterns, largely based on the Soviet Ameba, which have been used by the PLA until somewhere in the 2000s, when this camouflage pattern has replaced them. Interestingly enough, we have proof of this being an in-house development of directly the People's Liberation Army through the fact that the patent for this camouflage was filed specifically for the Gobi version, which I will explain what it is and how it looks like very soon. The patent for the Gobi version of this camouflage was filed back in 2007 and in 2006 actually, sorry. And the patent holder for that is the Quartermaster Equipment Research Institute of the General Logistics Department of the People's Liberation Army. Why was this camouflage even developed? It was an attempt to modernize the Chinese military to the standards closer to that of NATO, with a very more modern looking camouflage pattern, which would be effective for both electronic sensor devices as well as the human eye. Unlike the US attempts to create a universal, failed attempts of course, to create a universal camouflage pattern, a universal digital pattern that would work in all environments, that being the UCP, China has decided to create many separate patterns to fill different roles. Though, while originally there would be sense in the developments of many versions of the Type 07, eventually it led to internal politics between the branches of service and them wanting distinctive patterns. So this led to the creation of this universal or woodland version, which would be used by the ground forces mostly. There was a Navy version used by the Navy and the Naval Infantry, which was a blue camouflage version designed to camouflage the wearer into the sea and the ship decks. There was an Air Force version, which the Air Force specifically requested the changes for the coloration, so it would match their previous camouflage patterns, and I believe originally the Air Force version was based on an urban camouflage version. There was a Gobi version which should not be considered a desert version. Well, for this one there isn't a proper desert version. The updated later camouflage patterns that replaced the Type 07 do have a distinct Gobi and desert version, which are a different thing, with the Gobi version being used in arid terrain, deserts, and during the winter time. It was also the camouflage used for winter uniforms. In addition, there was also a Special Forces version, a jungle version which was used by rocket forces, if I'm not mistaken. And this is the universal, the general use, the woodland plains version used by the ground forces, which should be the most common one that you see. But other than uniforms, this was also a project to create to pretty much modernize every aspect of the People's Liberation Army, which included helmet covers, covers for body armor, load-bearing vests, and so on. We would have backpacks and camouflage for vehicles and so on. So it would all be standardized. So now that we know the history of it, let's talk about the features of the uniform. I did not receive a cap with it, so let's just talk about the jacket instead. The jacket closes with a set of buttons which are hidden with this piece of fabric right here. Similarly to many Russian uniforms, there is also an open style button which would not be hidden at the top to set your collar like this, like to set your collar up. I do not do it, I just don't find it very comfortable, but if you want to do it, then it's available. The collar also features two Velcro panels for patches showing the soldier's rank. This is very interesting. You will see some Velcro on this uniform for patches, and the rest have to be sewn on, which I just find a bit funny. So, on the front we have two pockets. These are maybe rather small, but you can fit some items inside them. In addition, here you have the other piece of Velcro for patches. Getting lower, here above the pockets, above the second row of pockets, we have a piece of string to adjust the width of the uniform, which I do not use. But here lower we have another set of pockets. These are actually quite nice. I like these pockets, despite the fact that it's a bit more, it's a rather modern uniform by the standards of it, and it still has lower pockets. I find that a bit funny, a bit weird even, but that's what the Chinese designed. On the sleeves, on the left sleeve, we have a pocket closed, well, all of the pockets closed with buttons, right? We can find reinforcements, I believe, yes, reinforcements of the elbow, which in my case don't really properly align when I bend the arm, but I'm not Chinese, so that's what it is. Chinese summer uniforms feature buttons on the cuffs, while winter uniforms instead have elastic cuffs. So on the right sleeve we do not have a pocket, the rest is the same. When it comes to the back, there are no visible cutouts for ventilation or freedom of movement. Maybe important to mention what these small loops are for. On Russian 60122 masking suit, in the video I've stated that those loops were for camouflage materials, so you can put, for example, leaves or branches inside them, and it's exactly the same purpose here. In addition, though, the PLA also has a standardized camouflage net, which could be attached to the uniform via these loops. So now I'm going to lower the camera and we will talk about the pants. Now we have the pants. I'm going to open the lower button just for, actually maybe even two, just to be able to properly show you everything. So for these pants, as you can see, I have a Soviet parade belt. It's not the correct or issued belt, but I just do not have anything other on hand. We have pockets. These are actually very, very large, very spacious. I like these pockets a lot. There are no back pockets, no kind of reinforcements on the seat. The fly closes only with buttons, which I forgot to mention when talking about the jacket. All of the buttons are stamped with the letters PLA, which I find very interesting, specifically because that's the English letters, while the Chinese, of course, do not use Latin alphabet. So I find it quite strange. Other than that, we have cargo pockets. These are straight pockets, unlike on the future uniforms, but they are still quite spacious, closing with buttons. There are no lower pockets anywhere, but there is reinforcements on the knees. The reinforcement in this on these uniforms is just another layer of fabric. There is no option to open it and put any kind of inserts inside. A very interesting part of the uniform, which I really want to show you, and I might have to lower the camera even more, is the bottom, at the entire bottom of the pants. As you can see, I'm wearing shorter boots than usual because I want to show you adjustments at the legging, which allow you to basically not have the legging flying like this, but you open this, tie it around, do a circle around your leg and click the Velcro into place, and then your pant is not going to escape because it cannot go up, because your leg would not fit. It's very comfortable for even use in regular shoes. It also makes it so that it does not escape from military boots like these. As for the uniform's usage and further history, starting from around 2007, it was supplied to the People's Liberation Army, replacing all the older Type 87 uniforms. As I've said, but the Chinese works to modernize its military did not stop at this camouflage pattern, and it was in the new projects to replace the Type 07 began around 2019, maybe a bit earlier, but the prototype camouflage was developed in 2019 and it was later adopted and it's still in use. But this will be, again, this will be the topic for a different video. Today only the Type 07, well, officially replaced or being replaced starting from 2021, it could still be seen in 2022. I saw the camouflage being used in a video from 2022, and because an official date for replacement, for the finalized replacement, was not stated. I do not think there are any units, or maybe we could say forward line or combat-ready units that still use this camouflage pattern. I believe all or most of them have been replaced, with maybe some rear line units still having these uniforms. But this doesn't mean that the production has stopped. For example, my uniform was made in 2023, and the reason for that is the military service for Chinese students. They also wear the Type 07. They still wear the Type 07, as some of my friends have shown me photos from their military service. I don't think it was this year, but this year probably the same thing. Last year, I believe, and some years ago. If I manage to find the photos, I will show you. In addition, while I was talking about the leggings having the adjustment at the bottom and it being comfortable to use with just regular running shoes, sneakers alike, that makes sense because the shoes that are used for the military trainings are very much reminiscent of just regular sneakers, but in the camouflage, the Type 07 camouflage pattern. If I manage to find a photo from one of my friends, I will put it on the video. So my uniform was made in 2023, most likely made for the military training for students. And the person who sold me it probably also thought that I'm just a student who needs it for the military training. That's how it is. Of course, other than that, you can see people wearing the Type 07 in China. For example, the technician at the hotel which I was staying in Beijing wore the Type 07, as well as just some random people on the street. But it's not related to the military, it's just a note which I wanted to state here. I do not really have proper conditions to show it, but I would like to have at least a basic kind of test for the Type 07 camouflage pattern in this kind of environment. We have to work with what we have available, which today in this case is not a lot. It's not proper environment which should be used for this. The background is very much far from ideal for it. I hope it's, I guess, at least clearly visible or well visible. Just to show how it looks, how it tries to blend into the environment. It's probably not going to be the best at it, since it's more for a plains type of environment, and honestly I'm not sure if it does well in such environment as well, considering the large amounts of gray and black on this. So I think this should be everything for today. I hope you enjoyed this video about a Chinese camouflage pattern and uniform. If you did, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, share your thoughts and questions in the comments below, and I hope to see you again next week.